This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending the South Carolina State Library's webinar titled Building Inclusive Spanish Collections for All. This is the final webinar in this year's Inclusive Collection series. And I'm Caroline Smith, the Inclusive Services Consultant here at the South Carolina State Library and your moderator in this series. And during this presentation, as in all our webinars, feel free to ask questions in the chat box. I'll be monitoring it as well as our presenter, and we'll have time to answer them at the end if they don't come up during the session. And I'm excited today to have Kathia Ibacache as our presenter to address a very important topic in our state. Kathia is the Romance Languages Librarian at the University of Colorado, Boulder. After working for 6 years in public libraries, building youth collections and creating programs in Spanish, Kathia understands the importance of advocacy, collaboration, and outreach. As a subject specialist, she's interested in advancing collection development with a user-centered approach and focusing on inclusion and diversity work with her international students. Presently, Kathia is researching Latin American Indigenous languages and preparing a year-long plan to acquire a collection of books that will benefit researchers and professors who would like to investigate the literary form, scope, and socio-cultural significance of Latin American Indigenous languages and develop undergraduate course curriculum that expands the areas of diversity. Kathia holds her MLIS degree from San Jose State University and a DMA degree from the University of Southern California. Thanks for being here today with us, Kathia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Am I ready to go?
Yes, and I will turn off my webcam. You're welcome to share yours if you like.
No problem. Thank you. So, hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Kathia Ibacache, and as Carolina just told you, I am the Romance Languages Librarian at the University of Colorado, Boulder. Previously, I worked as a children's librarian and youth services librarian in California, 6 years. Today, we are going to talk, and I'm going to go to my next slide there. Today, we're going to talk about how can we select books that reflects the needs of our constituents. How can we think and promote inclusion? What ideas can we have for promoting our collections, our Spanish collection? What does it mean to shelve smart? Now, I'll also allow you also to think about what's happening in our head when we think about deselecting or not deselecting our books for the Spanish collections. And then we're going to refer very briefly to some fields that the MARC records should have to create great bibliographic records, right? Those fields that we want to have. In this presentation, I am going to be, I like to cause a reaction on you. So I want you to feel audacious. I want you to feel daring, brave, intrepid. So I just want you to answer me honestly to the questions that I'm going to be asking you, because I'd love to hear your thoughts and your inputs on any of the slides, in any of the slides that we're going to be covering. I also want to be looking at the monitor to see if you have any comments that I can share with the rest of you. So these are the selection criteria that we usually use when we are purchasing books, right? We look at the relevancy. If we're looking for non-fiction books, we look at their currency, the objectivity, the authority of the author and the publishing house, of the scope. We can also look at the cost, right? How much does the material cost? Is there another selection criteria that you think I'm missing here that you usually use when you're purchasing a book? And if you can share with me in the screen, I can share it with everyone. If you think of another selection criteria that I did not mention here, but you think is really important, I would share it with the rest of the audience. All right, yeah, Christian says whether the library already has something similar. Very well, very good. And all right, so Christian says whether the library already has something similar. Excellent, that's a very good input. Katie Sanders says the audience, the target group, right? Very important criteria. Who are we buying the book to? Thank you, Katie. Excellent. Right, so let's think about inclusion. I have A, B, C, D, E here. These are different type of criteria. I want you to choose one of them that you think is the most important for you, that is inclusive and that the collection should reflect, right? So I want you to choose either A, B, C. If you like all of them, that's great, but I want you just to choose one of them. Population the library serves, the broad demographic, not just the near community, public demand, perhaps, general interest more than individual interest, and the goals and the mission of the library. Which one do you think? D. Okay, general interest more than individual interest. Thank you, Donna. Kirsten says A, population the library serves. Thank you. Then we have from Greenville County Library, we have E, the goals and the mission of the library. All right. So it's between A, the population the library serves. So it's between A and E, the ones that you think are more important when we're thinking about inclusion. And I'm going to wait just a few more seconds to see if anybody else wants to. Katie also say A, population the library serves. Excellent. All right, Juliana says A. So we do have a winner here. The population the library serves is what really drives our thoughts when we're thinking about inclusion. Jessica also says A. Thank you, Jessica. So now I'm going to move to here. If you could advocate, Polly also says A. Thank you, Polly. If you could advocate, I also want you to read again A, B, C, D, and E. Which selection criteria matters more to you? Now thinking about advocacy. So when we think about advocacy, yes, we are thinking about our constituents, the population that the library serves, but we're also thinking about something that you want to advocate for, right? That might not connect with your audience, but that you think it's important. So which one do you think it reflects more into your advocacy? Donna says D, that we should include ethnic, religious, racial, and social economic diversity. Thank you, Donna. Juliana also says D. She agrees. We want to include ethnic, religious. Beth also says D. So D is definitely a favorite. No problem, Jennifer. Thank you for being here. She says, sorry, I'm late. No problem. Renee says D. Wow, so we do have a winner. Includes ethnic, religious, racial, socioeconomic diversity. Polly says D too. Thank you, Polly. Very well. So we do have a winner. I didn't know that I was going to be the most favored one when I wrote this criteria. Thank you for that. It is, and yes, especially for a country like United States, right? We live in a country that is cosmopolitan. We have different type of people from different races and ethnic group living together, people from different religions, the people from different social economical stratus. So it would be very thoughtful of us that when we want to advocate, we have in mind this inclusion of ethnic, religious, racial, and social economic diversity. Now, I have my first book here. I chose this book because when I look at the cover, there was something about it that called my attention. This is a graphic novel. It's a graphic novel that I thought it was very interesting because it's written by 11 women writers, Mexican women writers. So this is women writing about the beautiful Frankenstein. And this is a book that is a tribute to Mary Shelley. It's written in epistolary form somehow, a little bit, because it is a graphic novel with 11 love letters to Frick, right? Now, I have one quotation here that caught my attention. Life is too short to waste it in hating. Now, to whom would you target this book? Just by looking at the cover, imagine that you have opened the book when it arrived in your boxes. To whom would you target this book? Teens, adults, advanced readers, meaning mature readers, all of the above, none of the above? Jessica says, Renee says D, all of the above. I saw somebody who says teens, okay. Juliana says D. Beth says D, all of the above. Excellent, all of the above. I would think so, yes, all of the above. It is a book that is philosophical in nature. This book is targeting students at the university. So it is, 17 and plus or 18 and above, the type of students that we get here. But I would definitely think it's a book that could target our youngest audience, our teen undergraduate audience, right? And definitely, I would read it. I'm an adult, right? So I would love to read this book too. But there is something useful about the cover of the book that I think really reads into our teens audience. Beth says D, all of the above. Thank you, Beth. Now, this is a display that dares. Remember, I told you I want you to dare. So these are two Spanish books for adults. And if you see in one of them, there's a couple showing their legs. So they are probably naked. We don't know that, but that's what comes to our heads. It's called The Creation of La Creación de Eva. And then we have the title Bajo la Piel. Would you dare? Yes, no, or I do not know. I want to know your answers. Could you dare to put this in display in your reference desk? A, yes. Donna says yes, she could dare. Juliana, Christine, they say yes. Beth says yes, they could dare. Because as librarians, we are brave, right? We want to be brave sometimes when we want to bring a title forward. Christina says A. So either that or our communities are not very conservative, maybe, so we feel okay with doing it. Greenville County and Pori, everyone says, yes, I could dare. Excellent. Now, as you see, I use some props for this display that could also call the attention of adults, like with this Japanese sandboard. This is a very small display that you can have near you, right, in the references. So for people, if somebody wants to look at it, you can be ready to answer questions about the book. These are displays that involve. And why do I say that involve? Because these books have been written by Latin American writers. One of them is by an Argentinian writer. It's a book about tales published by Alfaguara. Violeta and Nicanor, these are the Chilean poets. This is a contemporary novel book published by Editorial Planeta in 2018. And then we have another novel. So one of them is a tales, and then we have another novel here, the Chilean writer Hernan Rivera Letelier, and it's called a regional novel because it's based on a region, right? It's based on a city actually called Antofagasta in the north of Chile. So that's why it's called regional novel, because the main plot happens in this region. And then we have La Vida Simplemente by another Chilean writer. And these ones, all of these were published by different publishing houses. So this is just to tell you that when it comes to Spanish books, we have a rich array of publishing houses, not only in the United States, but also in Latin America, that can provide us with books that we can buy. If you have any questions, please just ask your questions too. Sorry I didn't say that, but I'll be happy to answer your questions as I go along. Now, look at here. This is just one book. It's called La Vida Simplemente. And as you can see, I have 7 different book covers. These are all published by different publishing houses. I think this book originally was published in 1967, so it has been republished and reprinted a number of times. Which one would you choose? Think about your audience and tell me, which one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Which one do you think would appeal to an adult audience in your libraries? Okay, this is number 2, La Vida Simplemente, with a very poor children's, also Donna. The image of the poor neighborhood with poor children, children's in need, right? 2 or 5. All right, 2 or 5, excellent. Jessica also says 2. Very interesting. And this is interesting that you are choosing 2, because 2 is a photograph, right? It's almost like is the photograph of real people, while number 2 is also a photograph, but it doesn't have people. 6 or 7 says, 6 or 7 says Beth. All right, Beth. Right. 6 or 7 are using it's more artistic, right? They are using image digitally made or photo or images that are not photograph of real people. Excellent. And why am I showing you all those different editions from different editorial houses? Is because when it comes to buying a book, I think the cover matters, and I'm a true believer in covers. One thing that I don't like about university shelves is when they take the cover out of the book and they put this very hard cover so the book is more durable. Even though that's great, the book is going to last longer, people are just not going to be drawn to the book, right? But when you have a very interesting cover, your audience will want to go and see, what is this book about, right? I'm not sure if you agree with me. Now, think about children's collections now. This is a display, it's a poster that I created. So this is a poster that you can print in paper and put it at the entrance of your children's room. And here I also use Canva, the free graphic design website, to create this poster. And these are all Spanish books, but for different audiences. So here you have La Luna Mango. This is a picture book, but for first or second graders, not really preschoolers, because this book is dealing with the current separation of family issues that we have right now. I'm not sure if you have read it already. It's a beautiful book, but it does have some sadness to it, right? Because the year loses his father. The father is taken away. While Días y Señorita Mariposa are books that are targeting a much younger audience. These are preschooler books with texts that are just like 2 lines, or 2 lines of text or repetition, rhymes. This one, Vamos and No More Bullies, are interesting books. They are in English, but using words that are in Spanish, right? With a lot of, this is a new, very trendy right now, that we have books in English, but they use many of the words on the text are in Spanish, like teaching vocabularies to children. Will we have access to that poster? Yes, you can. I mean, let's see. I mean, you have I'll be happy to share the slides with you, Jennifer. The poster, I can tell you the dimensions that I use. And with that, you'll be able to, with the dimensions, you'll be able to print it yourself. And if you send me your email, I can send you an attachment. I can email out the slides. Okay, excellent. Or I can actually send an attachment with the poster and then with the dimensions so you know how to print it. All right, I can totally do that. Just send me an email and I'll do that. No problem. Now, this is an e-display. So this is a display that you are going to show on in your monitors, right? And here I'm addressing multicultural and bilingual experience. Why? Because Dear Abuelo is the story of this little girl who is traveling from Mexico to New York, and she writes her grandfather. Oh, okay, Veronica. She's writing to her father who is in Mexico. So this book is also in English, but using Spanish words throughout. Now, Mi Oso Grande, or My Big Bear, what I like about this display of My Oso Grande is that if you have the opportunity to buy both books, meaning the English version and the Spanish version, it could be a great way of promoting your Spanish collection, because I think many parents would like to be able to read the book in Spanish, but they don't dare. But if you show that you have the English translation right there, you might invite them to check out both books. So you are checking out two books and then hopefully getting that Spanish book in the hands of your audience, of your parents, right, and the children. Now, using props. Props are, as you know, are very important to catch the eyes of your audience. So here I'm using some Lego structures made by children, or this nail over here who was also made by the child. You can use the art activities that the children use in your story times to ornament your own book displays, right? This one over here, this book displays also has a variety of books. The most important for me is this one here on the middle. This is a book with is bilingual on Spanish and Aymara. So here I'm trying to promote a little bit our Latin American indigenous languages. I don't read Aymara. I mean, I don't read any Latin American indigenous languages. However, if I have the Spanish translation and I open the book and I read the story and I just look at how Aymara language is written, I feel a connection with this Latin American indigenous language. And I think it's a good way to create conscience of people of these languages that still exist and are spoken by people in Latin America. The Three Billy Goats Buenos is a book that is going to come out very soon. I just made a review for the School Library Journal on it. It's a great book, and it is in English, but it has a number of Spanish words throughout. So the book does have a glossary at the beginning of the book in which you have all the Spanish terms used and and the definition. Now, let's see if I can show you this. These are social media videos. So I'm not sure if it's going to work out. Carolina, you tell me. It might not work out, but you tell me if it doesn't work out. So I'm showing you now.
We can see it now.
You can?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is in English, but I'm going to share with you how you can use your books, music, props, and the. Let me close this. Sorry about that. How you can use your books, your props, music, and create a video that can be put in Facebook, and with that you can promote your collections as well. In Oso Pardo, this is the very, very well-known book that you know. And what I have here, what I did is also a YouTube video. So I'm just going to show you the video. Can you see it, Carolina? Exactly. So with that, now I'm going to sing the song, right, following the book. So there are different ways in which you can promote your collection, not only with your e-displays or your displays on print, but also through video, music videos that you can create. Now, this is an Instagram post. Also, this is not showing Spanish books, but I did it for an STEM program. And I wanted to show it to you because I'm using different props here, robots and this coding mouse. This was a table display that we used in the library. So with all books related, you can do the same with your books in Spanish using props and then post it in Instagram. I'm sure you already do that, but I just wanted to show it to you. Now, this is a postcard. This is an idea that I have to promote books at the summer reading program. So this is just like a gift. It works like a bookmark, right? And right here, I'm advertising this book. It's also an Spanish, it's a bilingual book in Spanish and indigenous languages, Chinanteco and Spanish, that I'm advertising. This is just a gift. It's a little, token that you can give on your summer reading programs. Since you're promoting the book, I'm hoping that the publishers are going to be okay with using the image of the book. I'm not sure, but I have not used it yet. It was just an idea that I had in the past. To use as promotion of books. And book bundles, maybe you have done it too. Book bundles that you can do with your Spanish collection. These book bundles I did for my accelerated readers bundles. Now, Shelving Smart. The question for you would be, would you deselect A, newish published book that had not been checked out in 2 years, B, books that reflect diversity of ideas but not the sentiment of your local community, books that have been censored by members of your local community, all of the above, none of the above? Could you tell me, if you had to choose criteria for the selection, which one of these one, E, none of the above? Okay. Thank you, Donna. Donna says she would not choose any of these ones. Thank you, Donna. Who else can share with me your thoughts? And it's excellent because I hate to be, everyone says, everyone says none of them are excellent. I was very fearful that we might be, drawn to select things that have been censored by the community. I have those issues when people come and complain about some of my books in the public library, not here in the university setting. Veronica also says none of the above. This is awesome. Now, if you see the picture on the back, this is the picture. Do you see how these shelves have a lot of space? Well, when we are deselecting, the idea is to get those shelves going, to not only have the books that you are shelving, but also to show the books that you would like to showcase, right? So in this shelf in the back, you can see how there are some flyers and there are some books that are put on displays. That would be for me the perfect shelf, a shelf that has a lot of space for you to show your books, the cover of your books. When you want to deselect, there are a number of criteria. Could you share for me one of the criteria that you use when you deselect? And I can read it and share it with the rest. And let me check on the time. Okay. The condition. Kristen says the condition of the book. Exactly. If the book is falling apart, no matter how good the book has to go, and you might replace it, obviously. But the condition is the number one criteria that we all use to deselect the book. Very good. Inaccurate information. Yes, inaccurate information, especially for informational books. Duplicates, levels of circulation. Yes, if you have too many duplicates and low circulation, you would like to do at least one of them. The age of the book. When was it published, Christina? Is that what you mean? Currency. Yes, especially for non-fiction books. Currency, Yes, thank you, Christina. The year of publication is very important, especially for our informational books, right? Because we want to provide the books that have the latest information, the latest research or scholarship. Thank you. These are very good. Diverse titles, good. If they are still attractive, thank you. Yeah, I'd rather stand those on display in the hope of a second life. Yes, yes. You can think like that. Thank you. Who is the one answering me? Let's see if I can go here. Oh, Allison. Yes, not circulating for 3 years or more, and more lenient with world languages titles, diverse titles, if they are still attractive. Yes, and given a second chance to books, I'd rather start those in display on the hope of the second life. Yes, yeah, especially if you see that you have a book that you really like, that you see that it has low circulation. I imagine that for 1 or 2 years the book hasn't circulated, but you think it's still a meaningful book to have. I could totally use that book in a displays and help the book. And I think, and these are the records for this is a MARC record example that I wanted to show with you. When I work as a youth services librarian, I really appreciated a good bibliographic record, right? A record that could give you as much information as possible. For me, and I have to say, I am not a cataloger, so MARC records are not within my area of expertise, but I have worked with them, and I obviously we see everyday bibliographic records. So within that, being that I'm not a cataloger, the most important fields to me are 020, which is the ISB number. Then I would say, and I wrote it down here, A82. This is the Dewey number for informational books. That's a very important field. 100, that's the field for the author. 245 is the field for the title. And this field is very comprehensive, right? It also has the subtitle. And then it gives you some information about the translation of the book. In this case, this book has been translated, it's in Spanish and Quechua. Then you have the field, so you might be in, I hope I'm not losing you. It says network connection is failing. Then we have the field 264, which is the field that gives you publication information. Very important for me, at least. And I want to ask you that question. When we are collecting books, Spanish books, remember I was talking to you about publishing houses that are coming from all over, not only publishing houses in the United States, but also publishing houses in Latin American countries that you can connect with, right? So the publishing house of a book, to me, is really important because when it comes to a Spanish book, I feel that the Latin American publishing house gives me a type of book that is special, that is connected with his geographical zone. And how do you recommend connecting with international publishing houses? All right, you know, this might be very silly for you, but I literally go to their websites. So, for example, I have Libros Peruanos. I go to this is a book vendor, so they connect with different publishing houses in Latin America. Usually, these publishing houses do have they do provide for people who are abroad, right? So the first thing I do is I write them an email and I said, we're interested in these particular titles. You know, what are your payment methods? And if they have a payment method that is acceptable by your institution, then you could go ahead and tell them through an email, or by choosing electronically the titles that you want, and they would send it to you. We've done it they're called standing orders over here, I think, in which they send you these materials. But yes, I usually connect them through an email that I write them to see if we can do business if both of us share a payment option. Because the big problem with buying books from Latin America, there are two big problems. One big problem is payment options, meaning that the Latin American vendors or publishers do not accept the payment options that we offer. And the second problem is that if this publishing house doesn't have a good website, then even though it might have very good books, it doesn't have this reliability, right, to do business with them. So you're looking for publishing houses abroad in Latin America that have a reputation, that they have a good website that you can evaluate is a good established website with a nice contact information, which you have made contact with them already and established this kind of communication. What we're doing now here at the University of Colorado Boulder is that we are contacting them. We are in the process of contacting them so we can create approval plans. This is for my books on Latin American Indigenous Languages that are hard to find any other place. I can only find them in these houses. But there are a number of publishing houses like Putnam, Pehuen, Lumen, Pacarina. These are they are established and they're good, and they have a wide variety of books, not only for adults, but also for children. Many of these books can also be found on Amazon too. I don't know if I answered your question, Carolina, about how connecting with them, but it's usually through an email. Do you have a list? Do you have, let me see, is this question? 1 second, I'm going to read it. Do you have particular distributors that collect some of those smaller publishers? Difficult to answer that question. Few of my distributors, I mean, some of them, I think, give me, the Libros Peruanos is distributed by some of my book vendors, but most of them do not. So what we're doing right now, we are in the process of collecting the names. I'm in the process of collecting the names of all these book vendors or publishing houses in Latin America that I think are good for my collections. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask our current vendors if they can also, if they can create a connection with them, so we can have books coming from these publishers. And it's what I call a cultural capital. Cultural capital is a term that is used to say that all the parties here are going to be benefiting from it, right? The publishers in Latin America, our vendors here in the United States, and us, the university and the users of the university, by having a much wider array of selection, right, for publishers where we can get books from. Because these are special books. The books that I show you here, some of them are special. They're not. Some of them you can find in Amazon, but other ones are not going to be in Amazon. So you need to, you want to have this contact with them. So, but if you want names, I mean, I can also write an email. If you want to write me an email with our particular distributors, I'll be happy to share the name of those distributors with you. Just send me an email directly so I can connect with you directly. And I'll share our distributors, meaning the ones that already have an approval plan with me. And I can share them with you because I'm sure they'll be happy to make more business with you too. And I can also share with you a list of publishers in Latin America that I think I'm considering to join our network. So just send me an email and I'll communicate directly with you. And so here about the record, and I don't think there is another. Okay. Yeah, so these are the fields that I find are more important for me. The 300 field is very important because it gives you a description of the material. This is especially important for children's book, right? Especially because if the book is too large, imagine that the book is too large that you cannot fit in your shelf. So knowing the centimeters or knowing how wide, how tall the book is, it may give you an idea if it is a good book for you to have or not. So the field 300, I think, is important when we're evaluating what book we bring into our libraries, into our shelves. So if you have, now I would like to open to questions and inputs that you have. And as I told you, I use, in order to create my displays and my electronic displays, I use BeFunky. This is a free photo editor that I use for, to just add text or background, font, color into my images. And then I use canva.com. This is a free graphic design tool. Perhaps you are already familiar with it. I use it all the time. You can pay for a subscription for Canva, but I just use the free version of it. And it's great because you have a big array of fonts, letter fonts, backgrounds, images, geometrical figures, you can name it. And then you can create your own, you can ornament your own designs when you want to create your e-displays or your print displays. So thank you so much. And now I'm open for questions.
Kathia, there was a comment from Christina Hansen that I'm not sure if we got to yet, but she mentioned that.
Would you mind repeating it for me, or just let me see if I can see it. Christina?
She just shared that we use US-based jobbers like Latin American Booksource, Multicultural Books and Videos, LA Libreria, Laredo Books, Cinco Books, and they primarily work with libraries that have been able to source books from for us from all over Latin America. They offer the MARC records and EDI processing, and that attending the book fair in Guadalajara is awesome. You can peruse the program guide and publishing house catalog of each year's book fair. I forget what FIL stands for.
Yes.
And to get an idea of what's being published in the Spanish-speaking world. And I do hear about that book fair every year, but I did not know that you could look up the program guide online. So that's good to know for those of us who haven't been able to attend.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that. Was that Christina, the one who shared that?
Yes, that comment was from Christina.
Yeah. And Christina brought a very interesting and important point. Obviously, there are issues with budget and money, right? Not everyone can go and travel to a book fair, but there are very big and important book fairs in Mexico City. I think there was one in Monterrey last year. There are a number of them. I think in March there was one in Argentina. So if you are lucky enough that you can have a grant, or your library manager can sponsor a trip for you to go to one of those book fairs with international vendors, that is really an amazing opportunity, because then you can bring your library, your credit card, the library's credit card, and buy those books. Yes, I have also used warehouses, right? When you go to warehouses, you can also do that. But yes, if you have that opportunity of traveling and going where this big amount of people are, vendors and publishers, that's really wonderful. That's really wonderful if you could do that, because you're going to get your hands on very special publications, right? You're going to get your hands on very special and attractive books that you can bring to your library. Yes, thank you for that comment.
And then Kirsten Steele had another comment related to the MARC record, I believe.
Okay.
had one comment about searching for publishers in the catalog. Sometimes you have to talk with system staff to make sure publisher fields are searchable.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the problem with this, that exactly, that is discoverable, right? And we have these issues even anywhere in the public library or even in the university library. Sometimes our online catalogs do not display or we are not connected with our MARC records in an appropriate way, that the bibliographic records are just not very useful. So I totally understand that. So thank you for that comment. And sometimes, for example, when I worked as a youth services librarian, and whenever we got a new book that did not have a MARC record readily available, you know, we had to go into Congress and upload that record into our system. But sometimes the records were also very dim, meaning it didn't have much information. So if you have permissions to fill in on some of these fields, without having too much expertise in cataloging, which was my case. I am not a cataloger, but I did have a little bit of knowledge that I could feel that I could do some of the fields, and your library director is okay with that. I would go ahead and do it, because I think the bibliographic record is so important for us to find the title, right? That is discoverable, that is findable. Thank you for that comment.
And I see two more questions coming in from Greenville County Library. Is there any different criteria you use when picking Spanish language materials other than the general collection development criteria?
Yes, and I'm trying. Yes, and I have to say, that's what I said to you, that I wanted you to be bold and daring and intrepid, because I think as librarians we want to be that, and you sometimes want to think outside of the box. So, for example, that's exactly the criteria that I use when I said I'm going to grow a collection with the Latin American Indigenous Languages. So I'm the first one doing that. Is a small collection, but it's an important collection. So some criteria that I use right now, obviously in my case right now, working at the university level, I have to, for example, I ask my professors what are their subjects of research. And I just finished doing that. So I asked them, from here to 5 years more, what do you see yourself doing in your area of research? I take notes of that. I put all that information in a spreadsheet, and I use that information to purchase books that are related to their area of expertise. We also have something here called, and the public library use it, the suggested library purchase. That's a very important tool for me, because I want to hear what is it that my constituents need. More than one, I have an idea of what I want to give them, but more important for me is, what do you need from me? So we have that form here. Is electronic. In the public library that I work, we had a paper form that people would just fill out, telling us what they want from me. So I also use that. Whenever, and I did set money aside, I set a budget aside for suggested library purchases, in which I could use that money to buy all my suggestions. So I would try to honor each one of those suggestions. Another criteria, besides asking professors for research or graduate students about research or using the suggested library purchase, is that I could see, I go for topics that are of relevance right now. For example, LGBTQ topics that are within our Spanish world, or subjects of inclusion, of diversity. In terms of, I also help our one of the librarians who works with the education department to purchase books for children. We do have a collection here for youth and children. And I like bilingualism. I like books that have the English and the Spanish, just because I think those books have a better chance of being checked out. If not, I do want to buy the print on English and the print on Spanish. I do that. I also use a lot of ebooks. I think ebooks are a great choice too. If you have, an e-format and an e-platform for that. Yeah, I think those are additional criteria that I used.
And Kathia, do you have resources for reviews, like professional resources like Kirkus? This was another question from Greenville.
Oh, Kirkus. Yes. Kirkus is a great source. I also use the school library journal for children's books. The one page that I used to use as a youth services librarian, it was not done by librarians. It was the common sense, right? I think it's called Common Sense. Why I use Common Sense? Because they were written by parents. And even though their reviews of the books were not professional, they were giving me an idea of where my constituents, parents, were standing for, where the parent stands for. And it gives me like a better understanding of that group of the community who are doing reviews. So I usually would do that, yeah, school library journal, Kirkus, or Common Sense reviews. For me, I receive a lot of catalogs, which are also very interesting for me. So as a children's librarian, I used to receive catalogs from the American Association of Psychology. And they had a wonderful catalog. This is not for a Spanish book only. This is mostly for English books, children's books in English language, but great titles that you can use for your collections. Right now, I'm receiving catalogs from some vendors. So I think I received one from Alfaguara. So if you can get in contact with some of these publishers or book vendors, they have catalogs that can send to you. If not in paper, they can send you a link with an electronic version of the catalog in which you can look at books. And I do that a lot. I go into the websites of these vendors and I look for catalogs through their catalogs, 2019 or 2018, whatever it is that you're buying. And sometimes I do it by subject. So online catalogs are really helpful when I'm deciding what to buy too.
Kathia, did any of those review sources specialize in Spanish language materials?
The catalogs that are coming from the book vendors from Latin America, definitely yes. The book reviews from the school library journal, I'm one of the reviewers for the school library journal. So I do many books in Spanish. They send me all the picture books in bilingual Spanish, English, and Spanish. So I do a lot of reviews for a Spanish book. So a school library journal will have books that are going to be reviewing bilingual books, English, Spanish, or just a Spanish book for children, because I'm one of the reviewers, so I know we do have them. But if you want a catalog specialized on the reviews, or that give you a little bit of a summary of what the book is about, I could go and contact or have to look at the websites and the e-catalogs of these publishers that the Spanish language review resources. That's what I've been doing. Another source that I would give you, I've been using I go into the public libraries of countries. For example, I would say I would go into Chile or Argentina and I would find a public library in this country and look into the website and the children's collections of these countries. Yes, Veronica. So usually the e-catalogs, they will have a section for adult books in Spanish, and they will have a section for children books in Spanish, and they will have a separate section for indigenous languages. So they work by sections. So the book vendors that I work with right now, Putman, Pewen, they do have for different age groups. But I can, yes. Again, if you send me an email, because I do have the list of many of these publishers that I've been looking at, these book vendors, then I can go into my spreadsheet and share with you some of these names and the website address, URL, because the URL, the website will have a link to their catalog, which will be organized by age group.
And Kathia, if you send me that list, I will go ahead and send it to everyone who's registered because it seems like that a lot of the attendees.
I can do that, Carolina. So I probably will have it by the end of the week, by Friday. I can send you a list of a list of names of vendors in Latin America or publishers that maybe would like to contact them and see if something can be done to get books here from them. And also with the URL of these vendors and also detailing which one of these vendors have a good a catalog online that you guys can look for new titles that might interest you in Spanish for children, adults and teens too.
And we have about 4 minutes left if there are any other questions. And hopefully this will be a conversation we can continue throughout the next year, as I know a lot of libraries are interested in revamping their
it's a great topic. And I'll be happy to answer any questions too. I mean, you're more than welcome just to send me your questions through email and share my experiences promoting the collections or just buying these books. And they're so beautiful. I just love these books because they have this Latin American essence of them that I really appreciate. But I just, that's what I was telling you, that I love book covers because the book cover tells you so much. It just, my eyes goes to them and I want to open the book and read it, even if I don't understand the language, but I feel like looking at the book. You are most welcome, Kathy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation today, Kathia, and we'll be in touch and try to email out some of the resources that we mentioned. And I just wanted to show on my screen a couple of the upcoming trainings, and many of you may be interested in the adult ESOL staff exchange that we're having in January. That will be a time to network with other people who are serving English language learners. And we also will be discussing a little bit about starting a local chapter of Reforma, which might be a way for us to network with other libraries in South Carolina and the Southeast that are serving populations of Spanish speakers. And so I would like to thank you all for attending today. I will share the recording and some additional resources with you all. Feel free to contact me for more information or to contact Kathia with the contact information she shared earlier.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
All right.